Since 1989 and the fall of the Soviet Union, the world has steadily seen an increase of democratic nations. Recently, however, the integrity of the democratic system has been under attack because of the spread of increasingly authoritarian ideology. Due to recent corruption scandals and a lack of political transparency, the Czech Republic has declined in several global metrics for measuring democracy, to the point of being labeled a flawed democracy.
After World War II, Czechoslovakia was liberated from the Nazi dictatorship by the Allied forces. However, liberation did not mean freedom and independence. Communism quickly took hold and remained the dominant political ideology until the adoption of Alexander Dubček's Socialism with a Human Face granted people more civil and political liberties. In 1968, troops from the Soviet Union suppressed these reforms during what was known as the Prague Spring of 1968. The Prague Spring began a nearly 2-decade-long push to oust communism and put the government back into the hands of the Czech people. Finally, after intense mass protests during the Velvet Revolution of 1989, the communist leaders of Czechoslovakia were forced to resign, and 3 years later, in 1992, the Czech Republic was established with its own constitution and democratic government system, with a 200-seat Chamber of Deputies, 81-seat Senate, president that serves a 5-year term, and prime minister appointed by the president. The Czech Republic has seen remarkable political and economic growth since its formation in 1992, as it was accepted into the National Atlantic Trade Organization and the European Union by 2004. Basic human and civil rights are now protected by the Charter of Fundamental Human Rights incorporated into the Czech Constitution, and general elections and regional governments have been established across the nation. In more recent years, however, the democratic integrity of the Czech Republic has been threatened by political crime and authoritarianism. Starting in 2013, scandals, corruption allegations, and misrepresentation have become even more common in the Czech political sphere. For example, Prime Minister Petr Nečas stepped down in 2013 amid a bribery and spying scandal, and his replacement lost the vote of confidence of Parliament shortly after taking office. Today, President Miloš Zeman is under fire for undermining the Constitution and abusing his political powers, for sympathizing with Russia and China, and using demonizing rhetoric towards his enemies. Likewise, he appointed his close ally, Andrej Babiš, of the Anno 2011 party as Prime Minister in 2017. Babiš is the second wealthiest man in the Czech Republic, who founded the Anno 2011 party on the basis of anti-corruption in politics. Despite his political party's promise to fight corruption, Babiš has been accused of committing fraud, having conflicts of interest as the owner of EU-subsidized companies, and engaging in political intimidation. As a result of President Zeman, Prime Minister Babiš, and many other politicians' misdeeds, many citizens have lost faith in the integrity of modern politics, and as these wrongdoings continue, the democracy in the Czech Republic becomes even more threatened by authoritarian ideology. On several worldwide scales, the democratic status of the Czech Republic has fallen from a full democracy to a flawed democracy in the past several years. Flawed democratic nations often give citizens relatively little insight into or power over what actually happens within the government, while lacking high levels of political participation and having a general distrust of the government's legitimacy.
The Czech Republic is considered a flawed democracy, but how is democracy measured? What makes it flawed? Flawed democracies are nations that have elections and some civil liberties, but also have underlying issues. There are two accepted methods to measure democracy, using thin and thick measurements. Thin measurements use the common definition of democracy, focusing solely on electoral processes and the right to vote. However, social scientists and political analysts have begun to accept a wider set of metrics that affect the representation of individual voices in government beyond just elections. Thick measurements consider social factors such as political participation and social justice in order to see a bigger picture. Freedom House has been publishing reports on the democratic status of nations using thin democracy metrics in some form since the 1950s. In their 2019 report, Freedom House gave the Czech Republic a score of 91 out of 100, declaring them a free nation. This number comes after a gradual decrease in recent years, with a score of 94 in 2017, 93 in 2019, and 91 from 2018 to now. Freedom House attributes the Czech Republic's loss of score to several areas, including but not limited to lack of minority representation, corruption, and lack of freedom of the media and press. The Economist Intelligence Unit, or EIU, has been publishing their reports on the levels of democracy across the world using thick metrics since 2006. This year, the EIU ranked the Czech Republic 32nd worldwide, labeling it a flawed democracy. The EIU considers several factors, including whether national elections are free and fair, the security of voters, the influence of foreign powers in government, and the capability of the civil service to implement policies. While the EIU gave the Czech Republic scores out of 10 in each of the following categories, its lowest scores were in the functioning of government with a 6.79 out of 10, and the political participation with a 6.67 out of 10. Based on both thin and thick metrics for democracy, it is evident that democracy within the Czech Republic is threatened. Though the electoral process may proceed as normal, the Czech Republic suffers from an ineffective government with many authoritarian threats. For these reasons, the Czech Republic can be considered a flawed democracy.
But why is democracy important? It benefits everyone living in the Czech Republic. That means not only citizens, but also residents. It prevents any abuse of power, authoritarianism, meaning full transparency in the decision-making and actions of the government. It protects human rights by fighting discrimination, promoting equality, and providing freedom of expression. So, these are some of the actions to take. Let your voice be heard. Go out and speak up. Vote. Voting is the #1 right and opportunity we have in order to have a say on how we want our country to be ruled. Get informed and educate yourself. Make sure you don't get caught up in fake news. And lastly, don't forget to join organizations and movements that help promote democracy, such as A Million Moments for Democracy, National Democratic Institute, and the Human Rights Center.